Hello and welcome back to the Inside the Iggles live podcast TV, whatever it is that you want to call it. We're here for you guys. Thank you very much for joining us on this delightful, what day is today? Monday, August 14th. It's a pleasure to have you guys here with us again, or here with us for the first time. Whatever it is, we appreciate you. We're going to get into a whole bunch of stuff tonight. We're going to get into a little bit of preseason game one talk. We're going to get into the Zeke to New England, air Jalen Jordan, and what we want to see out of joint practices, maybe some other stuff. But first, I do just to kind of get it started. I do want to talk about the Ravens preseason winning streak. They are now at 24 straight games. And if you bet on them early on that ride, you're good. That's called generational wealth, is what that is. And congratulations to you if you rode with them. Personally, for me, it was a plus 700 bet. It was Eagles win the first half, Ravens win the second half, or the whole game. It was a smart bet, and I'm just kind of patting myself on the back here with that because I'm a very smart man apparently. But the thing, so. The Eagles have a chance to tie the game. They go for two with Ian Book, and you know that's not going to work. You know that we saw what Ian Book was doing the entire game, and we saw that nothing was going to happen with him. And they had a chance to kick the extra point, and they didn't. And I'm an agent of chaos, is what I fancy myself, and I would have loved it. I would have loved it if that game would have ended in a tie. If we could have ended their winning streak, not with a loss, because that's a little bit too much punctuation, but to just throw in some chaos, make them 23-0-1 is just, that would have been silly. That would have been fun. I would have lost a bet, but it would have been great. That's what I'm here for. And so after that game, I was like, you know what? We really missed an opportunity here to have some fun on Twitter. But that was my biggest, I don't say my biggest takeaway, but it was a pretty big takeaway from the game for me. Played a tie. Why don't we do that? Why don't we do that in the preseason? Anyway, I'm going to bring in my cohorts, my co-hosts. I'm going to bring in the identical twins, Jalil and Travis Williams. I'm going to bring in Brandon Pockrass. How you guys doing today?
I'm doing great. Can't complain. It's a new week, but there's football on. There's football on almost every day. And honestly, when we get to that point in the year, how can you ever complain about anything?
It's a very good point.
Exactly. Same. We're doing great over here, down here in enemy territory in Dallas, where I reside. But hell, two things about your opening, because I thought it was spectacular. Made me think, because I'm a competitor. Okay, so I think like Sirianni would have probably win the game, right? It's not that I don't have fun with competition. The competition is my fun. I want to win everything. But fun on Twitter is also very high on my priority list.
Absolutely.
Do with that information what you will, but I agree. We missed the opportunity for some fun on Twitter. That would have been great.
I know we've been having a pretty good fun Twitter year with the kind of, I guess it's kind of in the middle of the year with the submarine and everything. That was up there with like the Firefest weekend. That we've had some fun on Twitter this year, and just looking for a little bit more.
Exactly.
Travis, how about you? How you doing?
I'm doing good. It feels good to be back watching Eagles football again, even though it's just the preseason. Definitely take whatever we can get, but we aren't the only ones that missed opportunities. Ian Book definitely missed a few opportunities to outright win the game.
Man, that's one thing I kind of wanted to get into with this conversation, and it's only been one preseason game. How many people do you think from that game earned themselves a roster spot?
Very hard for game one. You'd like to think Tanner McKee did a good job at taking that third quarterback spot. Maybe Eli Ricks made it a lot harder of a decision, but
right.
Got the whole preseason to go for a reason. Still 2 more games, see if they can keep it up.
Yeah, that Tanner McKee one, that was really the only one. I mean, because if there was a doubt about him, he just ended it there. It was beautiful.
I'll give you one who earned his roster spot. Jalen Carter. Okay. That one play, all we needed to see.
Yeah.
All we needed to see.
That was beautiful. So like all that, like the clip of that went on Twitter with like where they did the telestrator and like circled him yellow and everything like that. So I was watching, I call it the national broadcast. Which broadcast were you guys watching? Was it the Eagles one or was it the Ravens one?
I was on the local Eagles one, and yeah, he just that rep he won just speaks to what he's bringing to the Eagles defensive line that already has an abundance of riches.
It was beautiful. Like that's what I was going to say. Like the Ravens one that they were doing on the NFL Plus NFL Network thing was the Ravens one, and they did not show that. We just got to listen to Jerry Sandusky, the good Jerry Sandusky, not the mega pervert one. We got to listen to the good Jerry Sandusky and the very dumb Rod Woodson talk about everything, but they did not talk about Jalen Carter.
So
I just hope there's just a quick nugget, Brandon.
Oh,
I hope that name gets retired forever. The name Jerry Sandusky. We should have, they track naming statistics, and after a certain point, there should be no babies named Jerry Sandusky like ever again. It's awful.
It's tough for him. I remember when the Sandusky stuff came out, like people were tweeting at this Jerry Sandusky, and he had to like go and publicly be like, "Hey man, not that guy. I'm not that guy, pal."
Yeah, but for me with the preseason game, I mean, McKee obviously stood out to me a lot. Like just seeing the way he just operated in his first game was sick. But DeAndre Swift, oof. Yeah, any questions I really had about his quote unquote fit in the offense, I have no more questions anymore. I'm very excited to see Swift in the Eagles offense.
We saw 2 carries and that was beautiful. And people are like, man, he's not going to be able to bowl people over, and he just lowers his shoulder into that guy's poor face.
Like we really saw every bit of what makes him special on display in that one play. He showed the shiftiness, the speed, and then just powered over a guy. And so he essentially embarrassed 2 people on the defense directly. It was great.
I would argue that we have not seen his pass catching ability yet, and that's something that I'm going to be very delighted to see. I actually just rewatched the Super Bowl last night, and a lot of people are saying that the running backs didn't have a good game during the Super Bowl. They didn't running the ball, but I mean they were Jalen was slinging the ball to Kenny Gainwell left and right, and he was being pretty productive with it. And if they can take that same mentality, bring it to DeAndre Swift, who's there specifically for that, woof, buddy, I'm loving it.
Yeah, you DeAndre actually Swift went back to watch the game.
He also had a little bit of patience there. That was almost looked like Le'Veon Bell, the way he just stopped for a second, saw the hole, and then just bursted out through it, man. That's good stuff, even though it won't carry. But I think the whole running back room, people are really freaking out about the low average, these low yards per carry. But find the second string offensive line, that's not really too big of a worry.
Oh, Jalil's back.
Sorry about that. Yeah, something in my eye. You know what I'm saying? I had to take care of that.
It's understandable.
So wins in the preseason don't mean jack, Charles Allen says.
It's very true. And I didn't care about winning until there was just these tiny things happening, and then the Baltimore fans were like going crazy, and I was like, you know what? No, I want them to have a bad time. I want them to leave there sad. And it wasn't an Eagles feeling that I was having. It was a personal feeling that I was having against the people that were enjoying their day, and I don't want that to happen to anybody.
For me, it's just like I said, my competitive nature. I don't care what type of game it is. I want to win every game. I don't. Listen, if some people are okay with being losers in any capacity, then that's on them. That I don't fall into that category. I understand that preseason games don't mean much of anything at all when it comes to the grand scheme of things, but I want to win everything.
I do have a few notes that I took during the game. Number one, is Marcus Mariota so bad that starting wide receivers don't help him?
Throwing the ball?
Throwing.
Probably. Probably.
Okay.
So that ties into the conversation. If McKee keeps looking like this, I feel better about him potentially being a stopgap backup if he continues to develop, because at least he can complete a pass in the NFL. Maybe. I don't know. I could be out on a ledge with this, but
right. If anything, what that could mean to me is that if there comes a time when Marcus Mariota is starting a game, and I'm talking fantasy here, like last year when Jalen was out, I started Gardner Minshew because I was like, this offense is high powered, whatever. Then the Saints game happened and everything was bad. But if Marcus Mariota's in, he's going to have a short leash on him, right? Like you can't just have him out there just missing guys in every single direction. If he has a short leash on him, I don't necessarily know that I'm going to be in the situation where I'd be like, all right, Jalen's out, plug in Marcus Mariota. That's guaranteed points. I'm thinking that could very much be if he's bad, get him out of there, put Tanner McKee in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and not even just from an accuracy standpoint, something that really stood out to me about Tanner McKee is like whenever he had a guy in single man coverage, especially Tyree Cleveland, he was hitting them and he was putting it right on the money, and he did a really good job of recognizing coverage. And I just don't think Mariota really did that, especially not for someone who's been in the NFL for
right.
What is it, 7 going into year 8 now?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yes, that's accurate. And you know what? Watching that game, okay, expectations are important, right? A guy is a backup for a reason. And so if Jalen goes out and the backup comes in, we can't expect the backup to play like Jalen, right? So when I was watching Mariota, I was trying to grade him on a scale that I think would be fair for a backup quarterback. When I was watching them, he did complete a couple of balls early, but then he missed some throws. He had some solid runs. For a backup, I would have given him like a B minus, a C plus. But then when Tanner came in, I was like, this is clearly better, just in terms of allowing the offense to flow like it should and utilizing your weapons. So for Tanner, I would give him a B plus. So essentially, I'm with you guys. I wouldn't be opposed to Tanner being the backup if he continues to play like this over the next couple of preseason games.
Yeah, I think that's right. And it was his very first game. It didn't. Now, I will say the one thing for Mariota is that the game did not look like it was too fast for him. For Ian Book out there, it was miserable to watch and everything was bad. But Tanner McKee, the game did not look too fast for Tanner McKee. I thought he, because that's, I mean, you get a rookie in there for the first time. That's obviously going to be a threat, but I thought he did pretty well. Another one of my, this is also on Mariota, because like when Gardner Minshew came in last year, everybody's like, okay, you got to throw out half of the playbook. Does Marcus Mariota throw out half of the playbook? I feel like that's part, but the other half of it, I don't know.
He shouldn't. He shouldn't. We shouldn't have to do that.
You're right.
That's the thing. Expectations, right? So you expect the guy coming in with all these years of, experience to be able to, run the plays, especially a guy who can move,
Right.
like, well, not quite like Jalen, but he can move. So, but yeah, I just don't think that throwing everything at him will be the best for the rest of the team. You probably need to pull some stuff back.
Yep. The couple other ones, Rod Woodson is a dumb mat. I'm another one. I'm drafting Johnny King in fantasy. Johnny King, a noted also alumni from Southeast Missouri State University, home of the Red Hawks, like your boy right here. Finally, the small pathetic school and backwards Missouri is getting their shine, baby. I love that. He was the one that caught that Mondo third down pass that was like 30 yards on like a 3rd and 12 or something like that. Love that. Actors who play high school quarterbacks should watch Tanner McKee's tape. That was good. Also, Tanner McKee is the name of a fictional high school quarterback. That was just along that same thing. This is a little bit later on in the game. I don't know if you guys noticed this. And this is kind of, I don't want to call it an effort play, but maybe it's football IQ. Eli Ricks fell on his face and didn't get up when the play was right behind him. I don't know if you guys noticed that one.
I did not, but I have a big problem with that. I have a big problem with that. Effort is, that's the easiest part. Just like care,
right.
Act like you actually want to be there. So, I mean, I feel like that's unacceptable.
Ian Book has no elbow, or else why can't he throw it? Had that. Eli Ricks did good. That was immediately after the pick six. And then also Eli Ricks is yelling in people's faces, and I love that. That was great. That's the kind of juice I want from a DB. Like guys coming in here and
well, with the whole Eli Ricks thing, and this is something we can probably get into a little bit later, right? How does that change the cornerback competition in terms of like who's making the roster, practice squad, all those different things? Because we mentioned that I think on the last episode, Ricks was a 5-star guy
right
in college. He's a guy with all the talent in the world. It just didn't really click for him in college. So if the Eagles are the team to get that out of him, that's adding not just an element this year, but you're helping your cornerback depth as your two main guys in Bradbury and Slay are getting older.
Yeah, I mean it's great to see when that actually does kind of play out, especially for the draft capital that he was worth. Charles here saying that mildly surprised by Tanner's play, reminds him a little bit of a Nick Foles type, very capable. A little bit of a backhanded compliment to Nick Foles there. Just all he is capable. Super Bowl MVP Nick Foles.
Which Nick Foles, though? Capable on which team, depending on what team he's on. It differs.
That's fair. That is fair. St. Louis Ram Nick Foles, mildly capable.
Mildly. Man, he was with. Wasn't he there with Jeff Fisher too?
Yeah, sure was.
Less than ideal head coaching situation.
Very bad. What else you guys got on the preseason game? Those were my notes.
I guess.
Build on that.
Oh, I did a bad job of doing that.
You can go if you want, Brandon.
I guess for me, like the McKee thing, obviously, the Swift thing, obviously, we touched on Carter and Ricks. I guess, like, just overall, I don't think I've ever seen a team take the preseason more seriously than the Baltimore Ravens. And I know, Jake, you touched on this in the cold open. Why is and look, I understand you have Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson isn't playing. Why are you playing your backup quarterback in the
Pro Bowl?
Backup Pro Bowl quarterback, thank you. In the second half of your first preseason game. And then said quarterback proceeds to get hurt. Like, oh my God, yeah, we're trying to extend their streak. Imagine if Huntley had a season-ending injury, and you're going into the season with Lamar Jackson, who, as much as I love him as a player, has not exactly been the model bill of health. So if Harbaugh would have got Huntley seriously injured in this game, and Lamar would have went down with an injury, what, you're trusting Anthony Brown to run your offense for large stretches of the year? Just so stupid, honestly.
Yeah, they that John Harbaugh really full of himself. Yeah, and then marching out, and I get doing it. The Justin Tucker field goal, put on a show. Okay, all right, but come on, man. I guess that's another one. Maybe a person who lost his job in that game was Greedy Williams. He was the one that catch that led to them getting into field goal position. Just missed a wicked missed tackle. That was tough to watch.
Agreed. But overall, the secondary looks really impressive for us to get to this place now after a couple of years ago, the purgatory of cornerback that we're dealing with. It's just a credit to the front office and the organization.
For sure.
They really realized that we needed to do something about that, and now I feel comfortable going forward as well. Right, from at least what we're seeing so far. If Bradbury goes down, if Slade goes down, hoping that it's not for an extended period, that those guys could come in and hold down the fort just for a little while they're still, growing into their roles.
Yep. It's good depth, good development. What about you, Travis?
Yeah, that's the thing that stuck out to me the most is I feel like as time goes on, Greedy Williams has just become the odd man out in that cornerback room. And, we touched on Eli Ricks. He didn't really catch on that much in college, but he had a pretty strong freshman year at LSU. He had to transfer to Alabama because he kind of lost his starting spot after he got injured in the second season. And, the SEC is a really, really hard conference to play in, especially for a cornerback. I mean, you figure they're probably going up against guys who are maybe even better than what you see in the third, fourth quarter of a preseason game. And Mario Goodrich, I think he played pretty well in the few snaps he got. And there were 5 Eagles. I was looking at this before, who had a grade of 90 or higher on Pro Football Focus, and 3 of them were corners. It was Eli Ricks, Mario Goodrich, and Mekhi Gardner also got one. But that was just for Gardner. It was just what he did on special teams. But with Sean Bradley out, it could open up a roster spot for just anybody who can be a special teams guy. And circling back to the cornerback thing or quarterback thing, another note that I had is Ian Book on the 2-point conversion. If he just looked back to his left, he had the slant on his left side. It was there. All he had to do was take it and put it right in his breadbasket.
Oh,
We could have had him.
Competent quarterbacking from Ian Book. We may not see that the whole preseason. He's not going to make the roster. Just a little interesting nugget. Sometimes my mind, the things that I like to focus on. It's really disappointing that a guy with the name Greedy Williams is not doing well. It's a great name, and come on, man. Hey, whoever gave you the name has to be disappointed. I know I am. So I need better from Greedy. You're gonna have to start on a different name or something. You can't even call him that anymore.
If James Bradbury has a cooler name, he's absolutely getting ranked up there with Darius Slay.
Yes.
James.
Exactly. Yeah, give me a nickname or something.
Come on,
cool.
Jimmy Brad.
So you know what? I was just about to say. I was about to introduce something to y'all. Okay, this is something I've been doing with my family in my house for years. Okay, that I came up with myself, and basically, you start off a game with your entire name, right? But if you play bad, you start to lose letters, right? So if James Bradbury has a bad game, he might be Jam Brad, like he starts losing letters in his name, and he can get them back if he plays well. But, like he has to pick it up. Every game you start off with your full name, and depending how well or poorly you play, you might just end up with a couple of initials. You know what I'm saying? And what do y'all think
you
about
don't deserve vowels.
Yeah, exactly.
That was one thing I noticed during that 2021 season. When they started off, I guess it was just after week 1, everybody like in the press conference is like, "Oh yeah, JG's calling a good game out there," and then they went on a bad tear and started losing games, and they're like, "Yes, Jonathan is calling the defense." Like,
just the endearing Philly fan base with the first name Jonathan. Yeah, it's like, and also to the point about the name game, I feel like I've seen that so much. It's like people just calling the guy not their whole name and saying they have to earn back the letters in the name if they play well. I think that's great. I think that's awesome.
I like that. I think we could start keeping track of that. I'll have to open up a spreadsheet.
Certain players, though, we can't do it for the whole roster. It has to be certain players,
right?
Agreed. I agree. Too many of them to try to keep up with all that, but yes. Quez,
all right.
Out with a hamstring. All right, man. All right.
Yeah,
I need him in. I need him in there. I want Quez to do well. Right, he's the speed guy. I want him to do well. I love speed. We need it on the team.
you're a big
Come
speed
on.
guy. You love doing speed.
Big speed.
You said it.
Well, I love. Yeah.
On fire today.
All right.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so that does anybody have anything else about preseason stuff just to wrap that up, the preseason one?
I think I'm good.
All right, news story came out today. We've been waiting on this one. I personally have been waiting on this one for a long time. Zeke to New England. I don't think it's been inked yet, but when smart guys on Twitter are saying it's going to happen, I have no choice but to believe them. Zeke to New England. He will never go away. We will be seeing him in week 1. Does this do anything for anybody at all?
Go ahead, Travis.
I saw something that the contract that he is allegedly signing is going to be worth up to $6 million, and that just seems like a lot of money for Zeke. I mean, Dalvin Cook's out there, Leonard Fournette is out there.
Dalvin Cook is not out there anymore.
Oh, did he go to the Jets?
He just signed with the Jets.
Really?
Oh.
I wonder what the number on that is.
So PFT put it out there. Obviously, take it with a grain of salt. Their sources aren't always great. The deal is reported at 8.6 total, but $7 million guaranteed.
Sheesh.
So
Nancy Rappaport tweeted it.
Definitely a pretty penny, but that's a discussion for a different show. But Zeke and Cook are both off the board.
All right, but let's also be clear. Cook was out there for a moment. They tried to get him. If I was Dalvin Cook, I would have said no anyway to the Patriots. I don't want to go there with Mac Jones as my quarterback and your receivers as who? Guys like me and you. You know what I'm saying? Like those their skill position players are awful. I think I saw like Devontae Parker last year was rated like last out of all receivers and like route running and separation, things of that nature. Yeah, if I was Cook, I wouldn't have wanted to go there. If I'm Zeke, I may not have an option.
No. Yeah,
I feel like Zeke's gonna be. It's really weird. You feel like he's really similar to Ramondre Stevenson at this point, where they're both just like power guys, kind of like would be the guy that you'd want to swap in on the goal line a lot of times, but. Maybe they just did it for week 1.
I also feel like the Zeke edition, it's not like they're going to give him a full workload, right? Like I feel like that'd be an extremely not smart thing for them to do.
Yeah, I'm honestly kind of surprised that he signed this early into the preseason. He seems
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was going to say he seems like he's like a wait till the week of the season, like wait till the season starts. I mean, we know that he just comes into training camp being a fat guy. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm thinking that maybe they want to run the ball a lot. They're really deciding and realizing that they can't throw the ball, so they're going to try to go running back by committee and just pound, try to set up some play action for Mac to make it a little easier, but. That's what I'm thinking it might be.
He'll still make it look difficult.
Mm-hmm. One thing that's always gotten on my nerves about Zeke is how he always falls forward, though. You know, it's hard to get that guy to fall backwards. He always falls forward, gain another yard or two.
Yeah, I know. We say it now like this does nothing for us, but you know that he's just going to go off in week 1.
Yeah, I have it in my notes. He has 233 carries for 1,107 yards and 7 touchdowns in 12 games against the Eagles. So
it's frustrating.
You have to look that up, Trev. Yeah,
I didn't think it was that bad, and I was like, "How many games?" And I saw 12.
Yeah,
oh, jeez, that's not even.
They paid him $6 million so they can get a little bit of production on Tom Brady night. That's what's happening.
$6 million is a lot. Like that's more than like the Eagles running back room is like $7 or $8 million.
7.2. It's the same amount, or no? Yeah, 7.
Yeah, it's the same amount as Miles Sanders' contract, right?
Yep. All Okay. Yeah, that's the other thing is that I've been waiting to see where Zeke lands because I figured that he's either going to go Dallas again or he's going to be somewhere on the Eagles like opponent list. I'm writing a like how there's an all-pro team in the NFL. I'm writing a something for the all-villain team for the Eagles opponents. So now I can finally complete that. Next thing. Jalen signs with Jordan, and I'm going to spend a lot of money on shoes again.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. The proximity to greatness. I love it. You know, for me, that's what it feels like. You know, just associating with greatness. You know how Jalen does, what he wants, the path he wants to take. He like pretty much eat, sleeps, breathes football. And so, you know, how do you make yourself better in a lot of different ways, right? Proximity to successful people, proximity to intelligent people, you know. I think it's all very coordinated. Very coordinated. I like the deal just for those reasons alone. Look, let me tell you, I'm not a big buy Nikes, buy Jordans guy. You know, I'm not that guy. I never really have been. I do like to look good, but the whole brand name I just don't care. You just can't force me to care. My brothers are completely different in that regard. They'll do all that, but I just don't care. But I just like it for that reason only. I think it's right in line with his mindset.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I what do you call it? I think the Hurts signing with Jordan, I think Hurts is a great spokesperson for Jordan. I think Jordan's a great brand for Hurts. I think that's simply what it boils down to.
Yeah, I'm incredibly vain. So I will be spending a lot of money on it.
Yeah, I feel like he's got a lot of. He already had like the whole season's worth of Jordans this past year, and he had a lot of cool cleats. I wish that they made some Jordans that matched like the Eagles midnight green, and they got a few that matched like a Kelly green uni, but I don't know if they have any that are quite the same shade. But he is the first Eagle to be officially signed with Jordan since Alshon Jeffrey, and he's only one of 4 quarterbacks in the NFL to sign with Jordan. The other 3 are Dak, Bryce Young, and Jimmy Garoppolo. Surprisingly.
Jimmy Garoppolo, old porn star Jimmy. Oh no.
Oh, that's a handsome man.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay, what do we have next on here? Okay, joint practices. So this week, the Eagles are having 2 joint practices against the Browns. They did just finish one. Looks like everybody made it out relatively unscathed. What we were talking about this before the show. People that got dinged up a little bit. I know Jason Kelce. Yeah, Josh Sweat.
I think Landon Dickerson also got a little banged up.
Dickerson had to leave, got taped up, and came back. They said he looked okay for the most part, but that was a thing that happened.
Do you guys have? Do you guys have anything that you're looking for in these joint practices? I know the Eagles care much more about the joint practices than they do the preseason games. Is there anything that you're looking for coming out of these things? Like what kind of stuff is going to be the stuff that really gets your blood going?
I mean, I feel like the biggest goal is really we want to come out of that with the Browns looking at us like, wow, that's a Super Bowl team, and we're still a long way away from there. And obviously, you know, if there was some players coming out saying Jalen Carter's a monster and Nolan Smith has a really high football IQ, just kind of getting those same things we've been hearing from the Eagles camp, but hearing them from another team's camp, I feel like that would mean a whole lot more because it's one thing to gas your own guys up, but when the rest of the league is recognizing these rookies or second-year players or first-time starters and saying those are guys who can play and they fit that system, that means a whole lot more.
I think for me, what I'm looking for, and this is what I always look for in the joint practices, no matter what team it is, like even just from a widespread NFL perspective, how do the aspects of, you know, team versus team look when you're going against the other team? So, for example, how do the wide receivers look against opposing cornerbacks? How do the cornerbacks look against opposing wide receivers? Cleveland has a nice group of wide receivers. Their corners aren't exactly fantastic. They have really good one in Denzel Ward, otherwise not really above average. You know, looking at the trenches, right? We talked about this. How in the one open practice, the Eagles offensive line struggled with the second team defensive line. This is where you start to see, and injuries notwithstanding, right? Is the Eagles defensive line that dominant to the point where the offensive line is just struggling with the best or one of the best defensive lines in the league? Or is there actual concern if a team like Cleveland, who still has a good defensive line, if the Eagles struggle with that defensive line too? Obviously, it's not the end-all be-all. It's not, oh my goodness, they struggle against Cleveland, they're going to suck this year. No, that's not how it works. Nothing's really that quote-unquote live. You just want to see the different things, because after the joint practices and as you move further into the preseason, little things that stand out can become trends, and this is where you start to see the foundation of that.
Yeah. It's all great points. And me leaning towards the trenches also. For me, that's the most important part in terms of just what I want to see with the Browns. The defensive line, the defensive line in particular. Okay, so throughout camp so far, what we've heard is that when it comes to the starters, the defensive line has struggled, but that's what we expect, right? Because our offensive line is supposed to be top tier, so those guys should struggle. As good as they are, they should struggle with Lane Johnson and Jason Kelsey and etc. So now that they're not going against those guys, can they disrupt and be a problem for the Browns? So like Travis was saying, like Brandon mentioned, that's kind of where my head is at as well. That was my main focus. And we heard that Jalen Carter today got 2 sacks, got a fumble recovery. Nolan Smith got a sack himself. So like those are the things I want to hear, that our defensive line, because it was so important last year, it's going to be just as important this year, if not even more so, with some of the guys on the back end getting older or being newer. So that's what I want to hear, that the defensive line is like wreaking havoc for the Browns.
Yeah, especially getting some of these like developmental guys going too. I'm sure that Jalen Carter and Nolan Smith are going to get their fair share of going against the ones. And I don't imagine you guys have any knowledge on the depth of the Browns offensive line. Yeah, I'm not sure anybody does, which is probably a safe thing. It's probably a healthy thing to not think about that. But yeah, that's just one of those things. Especially when we're talking about getting some of these developmental defensive backs and stuff. I'm just looking at this Browns depth chart right now. I'm curious to see, because one thing that has kind of that I've seen on Twitter, and I even saw it in the Browns' first preseason game against the Jets, because that was the only one that was on that Hall of Fame game. DTR, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, looks good, so I would like to see some of these kind of fringe guys do well against him. See how they play him. See how they play a mobile quarterback too.
I would suggest getting off the Browns website before your laptop gets the virus. I don't think that's very.
I just closed out of the window.
There you go. And save your computer. You got about 45 seconds before you're infected.
Damn it. I'm already done for. Looking at stuff on Twitter right now. ESP tweeted his stats for Jalen today. He went 15 for 20, 0 TDs, and 1 interception. I believe what I saw, that interception was one that he was throwing to Devontae, and Denzel Ward picked him off.
Interesting.
If you're gonna throw an interception to somebody on the Browns, like Brandon said, Denzel Ward's probably the one that you would want it to be.
Just another note I saw from one of the reporters who were there, that he got a deep ball. Jalen Hurts got a deep ball to Smith where he beat Denzel Ward and the safety over the top. So make sure to point that out as well. Denzel didn't straight up just win the day versus Smitty, because that's not a thing.
That's very fair. You guys have anything else on the joint practices and stuff like that?
Honestly,
Not a circle.
the last thing, get out of it healthy. And this is the problem with joint practices. I've seen it with many different teams. You can have that crippling injury in these types of practices that completely screws up your entire season. Get out of it healthy. If a guy tweaks something, don't make him push it. At the end of the day, you're not winning and losing games in joint practices.
Yeah, with Jason Kelsey getting dinged up, I can't imagine that we're going to see him. But maybe during like that Colts joint practice is the next time we probably see him.
Yeah, and the Browns' offensive line, they do have a couple guys like Jedrick Wills and Wyatt Teller, but really I don't know about their depth. But on the defensive line, you also got Myles Garrett. So we know those are guys who can play, and really it's not about seeing if Lane Johnson can block Myles Garrett. It's more about testing out the rookies, knowing what you have in your backups. And I feel like that's another thing you got to remember too, is as much as we love to see Jalen Hurts, complete every pass and get a lot of touchdowns in practice, at the end of the day, it is just practice. And we know he's a guy who can be our guy, and it's more just focusing on what we have in the backups, what we have for depth.
Yeah, I know in what you're bringing up, the Myles Garrett thing, I remember, was that last week, maybe like the Thursday practice after that, Jordan Mailata did the press conference thing, and they were talking to him and asking him about what he wants to get from the joint practices, and he says that he really likes going against Myles Garrett. I mean, and then there was pictures coming out from before the practice today, like they just seemed like a couple dudes hanging out. Just that's good that they're not going to be like
that was each other with a helmet.
That that was one thing that stood out in the picture. So if you remember that whatever draft it was, I can't remember if it wasn't this one, maybe last year or the year before that, Myles Garrett did one of the Browns picks, and he was wearing a suit, and his arms were just, bulging. It was he looked like the biggest man in the world. His arms were goddamn gigantic. And then today with this picture, Jordan Mailata almost was like dwarfing Myles Garrett. It's like I don't understand people, man. I don't understand sizes of people at all.
Genetics are a crazy thing, let me tell you.
As somebody with none, I'm gonna take your word on that. All right. Let's see. Okay. I should have put the video in this into the deck here. But Jalil, I said that right. I'm sure I did. He brought this up. All right. So earlier this week, there was a video, or maybe it was over the weekend, whenever the hell it was. There's video, like those they set up the cameras at the training camp, and then the players walk by. They have like a question written on a whiteboard. Players look at the camera, answer the question. The question was, what is the hardest position to play? For the most part, people were saying their own positions. At the very end of the video, the team barber walked by and said that barber is the hardest position, which I agree. Which begs the question for us: what is the hardest position to play?
Before we answer, I say that we take out quarterback from that discussion, because I feel like that's just too easy. I know we didn't talk about that before, and I'm springing it on you. Are y'all okay with picking a different position other than the quarterback?
Yeah, I feel like with the quarterback, everyone knows it's really mentally demanding. You got to memorize a lot of different plays, and you got to know coverages. But I feel like what we're really looking for is what is the most physically demanding, and I feel like that's fair to eliminate the quarterback from the discussion.
The only argument I would have against that is that the 49ers, I could do it. I could be their quarterback.
I think everyone's a little too hard on Trey Lance, man. I feel like.
I feel like we're not hard enough.
I don't know.
Bury him. Put him in the dirt.
Too hard?
Put him in a grinder. All right. So, yes. What is the hardest position?
Who's going first? I mean, it could be me. It was my question, so that's fair.
Let's hear
Yeah,
your answer then.
start us off.
Let's hear it.
All right. Okay. So the hardest position I think would have to be defensive tackle. I'm going defensive tackle. I think that the fact that you have these massive human beings every single snap, just leaning on you is extremely physically demanding. It's a lot, right? And if you get blown up and pushed out of your spot, you get laughed at and pointed at, and everybody clowns you, for being too weak. And it's like, well, you get out here and deal with a double team from Jason Kelsey and Landon Dickerson, like that's very difficult to deal with. So those guys, and they have to bang every single play. It's not like running back, receiver, whereas sometimes you get to avoid contact. Like every single play, you're getting smashed. So I would go with defensive tackle.
I think for me, trenches 1,000% up there. 1,000% up there. But I think I'm going to have to either go with cornerback or safety. Now, the reason I'm saying that is because of, number one, the position. You have to mirror guys, all different heights, weights, athletic abilities. You can go from facing a team like the Dolphins that have insane speed and you have to keep up with guys like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle to facing a receiver like A.J. Brown, who now you're not only dealing with speed, but you're dealing with a big height and having to deal with contested catch ability, right? And add on top of that, you're not only just doing man coverage, but sometimes in zone. And the most important thing for why I think it's so hard, not just understanding the schemes and all that, but coming downhill to tackle. You have to be able to tackle at that position too. You're the last line of defense a lot of times on the outside. You have to be able to have some form of tackling. So you have to be able to fight off blocks. You have to cover. You have to know the differences between man and zone coverage. You have to understand how quarterbacks are going to try and deceive you. And you have to deal with the penalties that are just absolutely egregious in today's NFL. So I think secondary is definitely one of, if not the hardest position to play in football.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you. To me, I think it's cornerback. I mean, you got to be able to pretty much run backwards at the speed that a lot of receivers are running forwards, and going into the play, the quarterback knows the route, the receiver knows the route, and you got to try and be looking at both of them and reading both their minds at once. And there's a lot of different things that they will do. Offenses will do if it's a pick, different route trees you got to know, and also just if you're a defensive tackle. And you mess up on a play, you're getting pancaked, and yeah, that sucks. But if you're a corner, your man's going for 6 if you mess up. It's very hard for a corner to mess up on a play and really blow a play and not give up a touchdown. Where other positions you can have a bad play and it really doesn't result in your opponent getting 6.
Okay, I'm gonna go different here, and I have a few thoughts. I have a few trains of thoughts. I can get really specific. I guess the hardest position to me would be the being drafted 21st overall in the 2020 draft. Because I mean, you saw how Jalen Reagor did it, and he just made it look so difficult. And if he's a professional athlete, how could it be that difficult to have his job? Because I mean, if he's putting out full effort, he did a truly pathetic job. Like everything that he did was awful. So in part of my mind's like, man, that must be really tough for an elite athlete like Jalen Reagor, an effort giver like Jalen Reagor. It must be a really hard job for him to be that bad at it. So that's one thing. Another really specific one, and this kind of gives you two positions, would be punter. Because again, it must be really hard to do, seeing as another elite athlete like Aaron Sipas is like really bad at it, especially like when it matters. So like you just got to think like the pressure that he has on him has to mount so much, or else how could he be so bad at his job? So that's got to be really difficult as well. But in semi-real answer, punter because you also have to hold the ball on the kick. And if you mess that up, everybody's going to blame you specifically for a missed kick. And that's not something that goes away. So that's two fake answers and a real answer as well to me.
Okay.
Being the contrarian
now,
of sorts.
let me defend my defensive tackle argument a little bit. So the thing is, one of the things that you pointed out, Travis, is that you have to watch for the cornerback and you have to kind of try to read the mind of the quarterback. But when you get let off the hook sometimes, if either the receiver or the quarterback or both are trash, right? Even if you slip, sometimes the quarterback may just miss him, not see him, not throw him the ball. You're fine. Nobody says anything. They didn't even see it. The camera didn't catch you slipping. You know, when you're in those trenches, you are in the lion's den the entire time. And you're dealing with not just the guys in front of you, but guys are coming to try to take your legs out. They're doing trap blocks to blindside you and knock you upside your head with a pulling tackle or tight end or whatever. If that tight end is George Kittle, it's going to hurt a lot. You know, so like those guys don't have the ability to hide. You can even double team a guy, give him safety help, a corner, you know, to kind of alleviate that a bad cornerback a little bit. But yeah, defensive tackle, there's no hiding. You're just going to get pushed around, smacked from the left, the right, all game, no matter what the coach tries to do for you, short of pulling you out of the game.
And you're getting beat up by the biggest guys on the field.
Definitely do not envy playing in the trenches. And you look at guys like we were just talking about it, Jordan Mailata and Myles Garrett. I mean, just standing there and getting hit by them 50, 60, 70 times every week. I mean, that definitely has to take a toll on your body.
And it's all difficult. It's all very hard, you know, like we're splitting hairs here, but
yeah, that's what I was going to say. Like at the end of the day, playing in the NFL is just insanely difficult, whether you're a quarterback, a running back, receiver, tight end, trenches, secondary, kicker, like it's all hard. Like you have to be, even to get to the NFL, like the top of the top, like athletically and physically.
Yeah, that's why. Thank God I got trash genetics. Thank God I hit 150 pounds my senior year of high school, man. If I was anything more.
Yeah, Zeke just got $6 million. You know what I'm saying? But we're like, yeah, thank God. You know, we're not getting that, right? You know, grass isn't always greener. I just wrote something about that in the article, man, about Fletcher Cox. I mean, I'll take some money, but you know, I don't need that.
Okay, I got one. We got 5 minutes left. I got one more thing I want to bring up. Okay, so this is going back to the preseason thing, and I should have brought this up before. How do we feel about Brian Johnson as a play caller? Obviously, he's not working with the whole playbook and everything, but we know that communication has been an issue for this team. With the whole reason that they went and did a practice in the stadium last week is that communication is kind of a thing. There was a delay of game during the game, and that was with Marcus Mariota in, I believe, not Tanner McKee. Is this
Mariota? I'm pretty sure.
Is it scale of 1 to 10? You guys worried about this at all?
Not yet.
Okay.
It's hard when you don't know what the playbook looks like when Mariota and McKee and Booker and versus Jalen Hurts. And I think we'll definitely get more into that after week 1, week 2, because he is a rookie play caller too. But I think he's got a pretty good relationship with Hurts, and they wouldn't have put him in that spot if they didn't think that he was more than capable of replicating what Shane Steichen did last year.
That's kind of where I fall into, where it's like we've seen in the preseason bad teams in the preseason look amazing in the regular season and vice versa. We're not going to know fully until we see a full game script, a full meal, I'd say, of plays in the sense of what is he calling in third and long, third and short, second and long on first downs? Is there specific patterns that are better or worse than the previous play callers? Because once you start getting that, then you can make the actual determination of, hey, is this a better play caller, a worse play caller, or a similar play caller?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, my only issue with it is that when Brian Johnson was calling plays at Florida, it's a totally different system here. I mean, they have I think Tanner McKee mentioned that in his post-game press conference, is that it's weird because the mic shuts off after 15 seconds, and this is the first time that he's ever had to experience anything like that. So you're also working with a offensive coordinator who's also under the gun now when it comes to getting that play call in clearly and concisely. So my issue is not necessarily with the what the plays, the scheme, and what the plays will look like. Mine's more with the communication aspect of it, and that's, again, it was his first time ever doing it. I'm curious to see how that looks going forward. That's just something I'm going to be keeping my eye on.
Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
Okay, we are just about out of time here. Let's see. We will be.
I got you. I got you. Let me tell you guys about my experience going to a Dallas Eagles game here in Dallas. Okay. So I go to the game with my mom. Okay. But we're all, whole family, huge Eagles fans, Eagles, everything. So we're sitting in our seats surrounded by Cowboys fans. You know, we don't care, whatever. Now, before the game starts, I look up at the big monitor. You know, they have that big Jumbotron in Jerry World. And Michael Irvin comes on the screen. And Michael Irvin gives this super juiced up pre-game hype speech that gets the entire stadium going nuts before the ball even kicked off. I turned and I looked at my mom and I said, "This is very bad. This is no good." And sure enough, we proceeded to get shellacked in that game. It was horrendous. We got destroyed. Every game I've gone to for the Eagles, we lost. This was one of the worst. And I remember going to the bathroom in the second half. You know, long lines too in the bathroom, right? I'm coming out. There's a line of people waiting. There's this guy and his son standing in line wearing their Dallas jerseys. The little boy had to be like 8 years old, and I'm walking by wearing my Eagles stuff. Little boy is cheesing super hard, looking at me, and lifts his hand up for a high five for me as I'm walking by, just trolling the hell out of me. And I look up at his dad, and his dad is just smiling like he's so proud of his son. I just wanted to kick the little boy in the kneecap, you know, just push him over. You know, it's all good fun. But hey, that was, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just wait till he turns 18, keep track of him, and then just go run up. We have some unfinished business, little boy.
When's your birthday? I'll see you in 9 years.
I'm saying. But that was my last experience going to an Eagles game. Hopefully the next one will be much better.
There you go. All right. So we will be back with you guys on Friday. The Eagles' next preseason game is on Thursday night. We will be back with you guys on Friday, touching on that kind of stuff. And then we'll be back with it. One thing we were talking about doing is talking about where, with fantasy draft season coming up, we're talking about doing a podcast on where you could draft, where is a reasonable spot to draft Eagles. It's because it's always good to draft your guys in fantasy. It makes life a lot more fun, especially with a high-powered offense like this. Maybe do a show on that. Maybe we do that next Monday. Let's see. There's another. Oh yeah, we were talking about this after the show on Friday. I threw this out there because I'm a man of integrity. I'm a man of integrity, and I live and die by things that don't matter. When I do my gambling posts, I had a thing that I called the piss bet, and I am 12-1 on the piss bet. And the piss bet is that if I lose the bet, then I had to drink a cup of my own piss, and I am more than willing. Yes, I've done it. The video has 49 views, not near enough views for the hell that I put myself through. But what I'm willing to do, all right? So we got to 500 subscribers on our YouTube channel. Here's what I'm going to say. If we can get 3 consecutive shows of this on YouTube at over, let's say, 500 views, Brandon's giving me eyes. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Over 3 consecutive shows, over 500 views. I will drink a cup of my own piss.
You're actually putting this out there?
Yeah, I'm putting it out
stream.
there. What's that? Oh, I could do it. No, because I'll throw up, and I don't think people want to see that.
They might want to see it.
They might want to see that.
Hey, you're offering now. You're offering now.
I'm sure I could get this StreamYard app on my phone and do it outside. But yeah, I'll do that. I'll do that. Yeah, I'll
at the very least, you have to record it and show it because the people have to see it. We have to have proof.
Oh yeah, no, for sure.
Otherwise,
if you think that I'm just going to drink a cup of my own piss and then not have video evidence, you don't know me, man.
I think that's what most people would do.
Oh, well, most people don't have the integrity of Jake Beckman. All right, I pride myself on one thing, and that's it. So if we can get to three consecutive episodes of over 500 views, I will do that. Starting now. So none of these that are at 400 and something like that you can just get. I'm talking from now into perpetuity. I'm making this deal out there with you, the loyal listener.
I will be clipping this and putting it around on the socials. Okay.
Please do.
Run it up, guys. Come on. We got to make this happen.
I understand now that after I'm saying this, I don't understand how the YouTube algorithm works, and I don't know how long you have to watch a video for it to count as a view. And I will be eating my own words and drinking my own urine.
You're doing the Lord's work, I think.
He's frowning.
Maybe. I don't know.
He did turn water to wine. I mean, wine to, so piss to... No.
Some more piss.
Piss to more piss, yeah.
There we go. All right. Do you guys have anything else?
I'm good.
All right. Awesome. For Travis and Jalil Williams, the 2 twins, for Brandon Pockrass, my name's Jake Beckman. Thank you guys for watching us. We'll catch you later on this week.
Fly Eagles, fly.